Amrita at Chess Base India can hardly believe what she's seeing in the climax of this epic chess game. With the white pieces, we had the king of fashion himself, Alireza Firouzja. He was playing Ramesh Babu Praggnanandanda with the black pieces, and what a game it is. It's the Superbet Rapid Blitz to come. They're in Warsaw, Poland, a grand chess tour event over the board madness. So Alireza here, he kicks off by developing the pony, d5 from Pragg, and he goes full b3 cowboy. We love to see it, Hikaru-esque. Now Pragg erects the big black centre, and after e3, knight f6, this bishop just tucks into bed, hits that chocolate slide. Pragg so impressed he copies. Now the explosive c4 is played, and you can't slide on past. This square is covered, so takes is selected. Bishop takes looking really natural, but we see pawn takes by Alireza, just looking to imbalance a bit more, keep it a bit kooky. Now the bishop develops, bishop e2, and after castles, would you look at Alireza's coach? The players share a fist bump. We love to see some safe monarchs. Now we get pawn b6, d3 played, and Pragg sets up the old bishop skull and crossbones in the center of the board. The queen develops into the game. Now this knight enters, and Alireza immediately challenges it. It doesn't take. Instead, the queen develops. Always connect your rooks. This guy is about to drop off the board, so now we see takes, queen recaptures, and don't get checkmated. That would be a very smelly end to the game, but they're super grandmasters. Alireza spots it, and taking the bishop now is very natural. But instead he decides to develop, also a good move, and after rook a d8 takes, it's Pragg's turn to just spice things up here, because he doesn't play the natural recaptures. No, he instead picks up the pony and plays knight g4, whispers Zwischenzug to Alireza, which means in between move in German. He's threatening a checkmate here, and that's why you don't have time to stop any of the material recapture, you know, take here or save this guy, whatever. And if you go g3, playable, but you weaken a lot of squares. So Alireza rotates the knight around to cover. Excuse me. We now get bishop takes on b2, the queen recaptures, finally this one is taken back, and there's a threat to capture the pawn. You could also kick the knight straight away, but Alireza decides to cover. This guy now lifts, of course Pragg whispers, do you even rook lift bro? And after a4, Alireza's so impressed that not only is he running the a pawn, but after the legendary double stack, he now whispers back, do you even rook lift bro? Both of those ones cover in the backwards weakness, and Pragg just wants a weakness of his own, so he goes a5. But actually he was trying to keep an eye on this one. That's why he set up the camel toe pawn formation. Rook b3 intensifies the pressure, and after this knight drops back, it starts getting really cagey. Now Alireza had already pre-moved h3, clearly, I mean that's a joke, they're over the board, remember, and after queen c6 he now gets his hop on, hits that lady, she drops back, no blunder, and the clocks are just starting to run down here. It's the rapid time control. They did get about 25 minutes, but not loads of time, not when you're trying to work your way through all of these subtleties. Should you take the knights off the board, for example, definitely playable, but then you swap b for d pawn, not so much to speak of in terms of imbalance. So instead we see Alireza just drop back here, and it gets really interesting because Pragg goes for this threefold repetition. Alireza's having none of it. This is why he practices with Fabi and Hikaru, loves the pony manoeuvring. It's for moments like this. He keeps the pieces on, lots of tension, slightly up on the clock. Now queen d6 hits the pawn, covered, it drops back here. This one now lifts into the game, and possibly Pragg hints at now rotating the knight to b4 where it hits the pawn, or he's just despairing and setting the pieces up for the next game. We're not sure, but either way, Alireza now takes action. He enters with the lady here, offers the exchange, and you don't want to go for that, or you bring in the knight with a vengeance, hits the rook, pawns dropping and everything. Plus it covers here. So no takes was played. Instead this rook lifts, covers the pawn there, and now after queen g3, knight e5 on the way, Pragg does feel that he has to deal with that. So he abandons this plan, covers the key square. So Alireza drops back here, looks to enter the game like this, covered, constantly thinking of each other's plans, real cat and mouse. Now we get the knight coming back. Are we going to see a repetition? No. Great fighting spirit from Pragg. They're both going for it here. This one jumps forward, the rook saves itself, it's hotting up, there's a climax to come here, and at this moment Alireza really turns up the heat because he launches Gary the debt collector down the board, and there's a big threat now to simply push with g5, kick this guy and crash through to the king. So Pragg covers with the rook, very natural, and now the central thrust comes. It's d4 for the score. Great move. We get captures here, recaptures now. Those are the hanging pawns that Alireza's got. You know, no foot soldiers at the base supporting. He's just about holding everything together. And after knight d7, takes now, queen recaptures, he's obliged to play d5 so as not to drop that pawn, and it's Pragg that goes wrong here. He should play rook c8 as the best move, keep those pawns under lock and key, but he plays pawn e6, does look natural to undermine this structure, but you can now take on b6, there's a threat to take on d6, so captures, and after takes back here, well, the point is white can now slide on by like a ship in the night and is doing really well with this passed runner. Although black's got 1-2, if you try and push it, the c pawn comes with tempos against the queen. Here's one sample line and white's killing it. Not that this was the best way to play, but let's run back because Alireza missed this move. He takes on d5, given the question mark. It restores the balance of the game here, and after rook b5, he's not even winning the a-pawn because Pragg can slide all the way back to the corner there, cover it. h4 looks to rip open the king, but Pragg calmly goes rook e8. King h2 is played. Now the queen centralizes a black widow spider, and it's very difficult to avoid the exchange. The pressure's on the white king too. So here Alireza steps up, covers the queen, but we get the invasion in behind enemy lines. These ones now feeling the heat because they pushed on by, left this vacuum behind. We see queen f3 going for the exchange, but the checking begins. Now this position is a draw. Pragg could have carried it on, but after king g3, he gets ambitious. They're both playing on seconds here really, not tons of time, and he goes for rook to d8. He wants the invasion to skewer the lady to the king here, win the game on the spot. So Alireza covers that one, and after check, king h3, you do actually have to keep on checking. But this is the moment where Pragg gets fully ambitious. He feels like he's got Alireza under the cosh. He makes this blunder now of rook to d4.
Pragg, what's the plan? Oh my goodness, blundered!
I mean, it's reminiscent of the moment that Garry Kasparov made the epic blunder against Vishy Anand. We didn't quite get the same faces from Praggnanandhaa here, but a one move, terrible shot is very similar here because it allows Alireza, can you find the move here, to go rook b7. And the reason that's so strong is because you can't defend this black king. You know, the rook can't get back, can't come across here. Whoops. How does the queen cover? Well, we're going to have a look at that in a moment, but there's no immediately obvious way. And if you try and push the pawn or something, well, it just opens up the king like this. So you can go for this kind of lateral checkmate. There were different ways to do it. Let's say you step there. This is the quickest checkmate, but there were other checkmates. They all kill the king. So running back here, check is played, the king moves down here, and now queen c4. So it staves off that threat for just a moment, but there's a second winning idea here that's just unavoidable. Of course Alireza finds it. He's so sharp on his tactics. He plays Queen f6, just sitting on the head of the pawn like a sumo wrestler. You cut the king in every direction. Rook b8 is now a massive threat to checkmate, and this is of course still a threat. So how do you cover everything? You know, if you try and drop back like this, well then you just crash through here, you deliver the mate here or here, pick your poison, and how else to go? No rook d8, you take. What to even suggest, I'm not sure. Rook f4, you check. Then you've got nothing, so you have to block. That's a mate. This is the problem. The black king's completely boxed in. This is the results of the tournament right now. Alireza's in second. He's chasing the big fish, Fedoseev, after 2 days. Great to see Toppy back as well. He's sitting down at the bottom there, struggling a bit. Understandably, he's a lot older than the rest of the field, but good to see him back at the board, just like the legend Ivanchuk, who's been killing it lately. Hope you enjoyed this game. Have a look at the one on screen for another epic game of chess, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.